A fun thing I like to do when I shake like Jeremy's hand, like the first time I met him, any like really big guy, I'll take my pointer finger and I just like lay it along the wrist every time. I do it to every like bodybuilding guy. Yeah, just every one of them, and I'll just kind of like take my finger on the wrist when I do it every time.
Just start doing the Boy Scout handshake, the 2 fingers in front.
It's like a mental check, like you just to see the reaction.
Yeah, and it's just to like, I'm going to get hit one of these days. Like somebody's going to punch me, but it's
all good fun.
So far the record, I'm batting 100. So
I like it. Well, we're gonna just start Working Class on DeerCast and like that, talking about how to
shake hands, baby.
Assert dominance through a handshake.
There you go.
I'm not sure what episode this is, but Kurt Geyer here,
Doug Schmidt,
Eric Common.
We have. I'm sorry. I was gonna say our guest.
Oh, there you go. I'm Shad Vanatti,
and then we have a
special guest.
Snort Wheeze Scottie's in here.
So.
Hey, thanks for being here, man.
You're welcome.
Still not really sure about this guy. We'll figure that out.
How did he get in here?
I don't. Thanks for being here, man.
Strong westerly winds.
I think that's what it is. But this episode, we're gonna chat with our good buddy Shad about some traditional archery. You're known in the WCB community as the trad guy for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love you, Shad, because you are a passionate human being about life in general. Hunting, of course, is how we all know you. But, you're a musician. You're a passionate traditional archery guy. You're passionate about hunting. You're passionate about everything, I feel like, which is...
Runs 400 miles a day.
Yeah.
Not a day.
Yeah, but it seems like it. So thanks for doing this, man.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Where are you from?
I'm from Terre Haute, Indiana.
You made the jaunt all the way to the studio.
Yeah, man. In strong headwinds. It was a battle.
It's bad today. I'm glad I filled my tag because I don't want to be
need a tree right now.
No, absolutely not. Would not be any fun.
Yeah,
that's why you hunt from the ground.
The spikes are safe from me today. So
right.
Took a day off.
I'm checking to see if Snort Wheeze Scottie's going to break here.
Nope.
What character?
You already broke it.
Yeah. What character?
This isn't a character.
It's a lifestyle.
This is the way I live.
Okay. Good.
Good enough.
Shad, talk about trad archery. So we've as of recently, we've had some controversy in the WCB world. It seems like more so from the trad community because of a photo that was posted of a deer that got eaten by coyotes. If you follow us at all, by the time this launches, it's hopefully just blown over and everybody's happy now. But a lot of them aren't happy. I learned most of it is trad guys. Yeah. And you're a part of the trad community, but you don't necessarily... I don't see you as being like a typical trad guy. Does that make sense? I'm trying to say it without being offensive, like on accident.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love traditional bow hunting and traditional archery. I've been doing it since 1993. Mm-hmm. But I don't really fall into any group mindset of anything.
I get you. Yeah.
I don't really fall into groupthink, even with you guys. Like, right? Like, I just don't. It's not who I am. Maybe it's too much punk rock ethos of the early 1980s.
But we love that. That's what we love about you.
I don't know, but I just don't. I think any crowd has a group mentality, and you have to like kind of break away from that, or you lose your ability to think.
For sure. So, I mean, we see that now with political parties and all that.
It's with everything.
With everything,
yeah.
So, I mean, do you get crap from the traditional community because of that, or have you?
I more so in 2018. I picked up a compound again for the first time since 1993, and there was some people that I cared about. I cared about their opinions, I guess, a little bit too much. Who were very upset about the fact that I started shooting a compound again. But I
could see that.
I was bored with shooting traditional archery. I mean, I've been doing it forever. I enjoy doing it, but I needed a new challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like you're dropping it all together.
No, I still love it. I mean, I still
That's
shoot.
wild.
I shoot recurves or longbows. I mean, almost every day. I shoot almost every day, and I've got a wall of them. I'll just grab one, I'll shoot it for a bit, and then I might pick up a compound. But I think that in life, if you don't try to grow and change and do other challenging things, then you're just stagnant. You're not learning. Yeah. You're not moving forward. And I was bored with it, and I shot a compound again for the first time in 2018, and wasn't easy. It wasn't like I thought like I had.
Like you just jump back into it as normal.
What I
and move
remember,
on.
yeah. Well, the bows have changed a lot since you know. You
Since
look at
93.
you look at a compound from the early 90s that might be 46, 48 inches long axle to axle.
Yeah.
To now, and you could when I quit shooting a compound, I shot it with fingers.
Solid. Yeah. Oh yeah, that too. But like solid riser, solid limbs, and just they all look the same.
Did you like not shoot one at all, or would you like go to a bow shop and shoot one around every once in a while?
The only time I picked one up in that amount of time, Joe Humphreys actually has a picture of it.
He documented it.
Yeah, he thought it was hilarious because I was getting a Diamond Infinite Edge, I think was the name of it, for my son Chase.
Yeah, my wife used to have that bow.
And when Gander had an indoor shooting range, and he told me to shoot it. I was like, all right. So he gave me the little release, and I put it on, and it was just the most weird thing that I haven't shot one of those.
Because it's not right.
So you're correct. It's not.
It's not. Well,
What is this contraption?
Yeah.
It wouldn't feel right. What are all these extra cables and
It's
strings
this
for?
newfangled wizardry.
That's like stop driving a car now and then drive one in 20 years and see how much different it is.
Well, I don't know if it's the same comparison, but I get what you're saying.
Or like a car from the 80s to now.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's a better comparison. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, imagine going from like a Ford Pinto and then getting in a Tesla.
Right.
I want that Pinto.
Oh, well, I get that. Respect. Like an old Cutlass is one of my style.
Yeah.
But I get that a little bit. So I love that Joe had to document it.
Yeah, he ate that up pretty good. And he was
Classic
with me.
Joe.
He was with me the day that I bought my first compound again. And I didn't know I was going to buy one that day. We were at our mutual friend Josh McDaniel's shop.
Yeah.
And he just happened to have a used bow that I liked, and I shot it, and I was like, I'm taking this home with me. And Joe about flipped because it was not in the script that day to go down there and
You weren't like going to the bow shop and be like, hey, I'm
No.
going to buy a compound today.
No, we were actually taking a pallet of big tine down there for them, so for the shop to sell. And it just happened to be one of those days, and I brought it back home with me, and he was speechless. I didn't have a release. I didn't even have anything to shoot from this.
Yeah.
I didn't have arrows that were spined heavy enough to shoot from it or anything. I was just like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna buy.
Yeah.
And
just
so
went for it.
And
Yeah.
everything else that goes with the compound.
Yeah, and I mean, that was at the beginning of September, and decided I was going to take it out hunting that year because I had fun shooting it. I got heavy broadheads to shoot out of it, and had a good year. Killed 3 deer with it, and I missed the first deer I shot at with it. I missed, which I started laughing because it was like 16 yards.
Right.
And I was like, I can miss just as easy with this as I do with a longbow. This is amazing.
It's amazing. He was excited about it.
I was laughing. I texted
Hell,
Joe.
I'm not even mad.
Yeah. And then, I mean, it wasn't 15 minutes later, had a buck walk by and put a perfect shot on it. And it was just like, wow, it was still fun. It was just like when I first started shooting archery again.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me, the target panic that comes along with it, just the holding on target. Like, I'm not used to doing that.
Yeah.
And even, here we are 3 years later, I'm still not used to doing, like, I have to work through steps every time I go to shoot one.
It's cool seeing you with the compound, but I like how you're still so passionate because we do the annual Working Class Bowhunter shoot, and we've talked about this before in the past, but you're like the guy who has all these trad bows, and people are like scared to touch them.
Yeah.
And you're like, you want to shoot it? And people are like, oh, no, I'll never. No, I'm good. I don't want to shoot. You're like, no, let's go shoot it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just bows, man.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be shot. I
Nobody
mean,
touches my stuff.
Snort Wheeze Scottie is cold-blooded.
No.
All right.
Get your own.
Well,
Get your own.
I expect you to have a little more positive attitude.
No.
Oh, you're just stone cold serious all the time, huh?
Yeah.
This isn't a joke to you?
No.
Okay.
But did you kill your deer out of a deer stand too? Hunting over a food plot.
Okay.
I did all the
Hunting with
cheating
wheels
stuff.
now.
Scotty, with
Can't
all due
believe you.
respect, Snort Wheeze Scottie. Sorry, I didn't mean to come at you without your full name.
Apologize.
Don't use this government name.
That's right. You apologize.
A little aggressive.
Better put a mister in front of that.
Mr. Snort Wheeze Scottie. I might have to mute your mic if you keep it up. With all due respect, I think we should let Shad talk as a
show
guest.
some respect,
I think that'd be the best thing.
Whatever, dude.
Okay, good. But it's cool. Like, bows are meant to be shot, but I think people want to shoot them, but they're like bashful or they're nervous. But
Yeah.
you're like, no, let's go shoot them. Let's try them out. And I think people have a blast with that.
Well, it's a lot of fun. People, I mean, ultimately the reason we do all this stuff is because it's fun. I mean, we take it seriously. I take it very seriously. You guys take it very seriously.
Of course, yeah.
The reason we practice so much is because the animals that we pursue, we want to do as cleanly and effectively as possible.
Of course.
So, I mean, all my practice is I practice for hunting, like all the time. That's the whole reason I'm doing it. So I do take it seriously, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I've never lost that youthful enthusiasm of shooting a bow.
And you make it comfortable for people if they've never shot one before. Because I've shot them before, but never like, I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know
I
any
feel
of
like
that.
a doofus.
Yeah, you feel like a doofus 'cause you're like, I don't know what to do with my hands. And
Yeah, I
then
know.
the first time I shot one with you, you're like, okay, try this. And then you actually like feel comfortable enough. You're like, okay, this actually feels right. And yeah, I kind of know what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it's not as hard as people think it is.
Right.
I mean, and there's a lot of people, especially now, that have never shot a traditional bow.
A lot of them. I think
Yeah.
I'd say the majority still. I mean, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, a lot of the people coming up now, for sure. I mean, it's maybe the traditional archery world has started to blow up again a little bit. So it's a little bit more recognized, but 10 years ago, probably not.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, there's people who've never handled one. They don't know anything about it, and if you know how to shoot a compound bow, it's not too hard to change that into shooting a traditional bow. I mean, it's the same steps. It's anchor, form, clean
Right.
release. It's
Right. And then one thing you mentioned earlier, too, is like you're passionate about everything, but you said there's a lot of things that, you're a really good friend, but we all don't. I mean, not that we disagree with you on this, but what I'm saying is I appreciate this about you is that, like, the caliber of deer that you hunt is really anything.
It's whatever gets me excited. It's not based on antler size. It's not based on doe or buck. It's not based on any. It's if it gets me excited, then that's the one that I'm about. And I'm a little bit older than some of you guys, and I've been doing this for a really long time. Just like you guys started out really early. I kind of hit the 5 stages of sportsmanship, and I kind of went through those really fast. Where I didn't really once the trophy stage.
What are the 5 stages? Do you know them?
I could look them up. I remember them. I've had to go through them 1,000 times because I put all the kids through hunter education classes.
Let me see.
Win.
There's a limiting out
Win.
stage.
Be number 1.
Be number 1.
That's the only.
Grip and grins, baby.
Yeah.
Spoon and crock pot.
That sounds right.
That's my club.
5.
I'll be a part of it. Lucky to have me.
Dang. Cold blood.
I don't know if this is huntered.com. Shooting stage, limiting out stage,
Yes.
trophy stage, method stage, sportsman stage.
Yes. So, are you looking at the
I was just wanted
description
to see,
of them all?
Yeah, I wanted to see if they had it.
That's just the stages again.
Anyway, I just thought it might be interesting to read it, see what it says. But I do appreciate that about you. Like, yeah, whatever gets you excited, because we kind of have a joke in the WCB community is like, that's a shad buck,
Yeah.
which I think is cool.
And most of the time they are. Most of the time I'm in.
Yeah,
I love to figure out big bucks, and I like to get close to them. My biggest thing when it comes to bow hunting is I want to see how close I can get to an animal without them knowing I'm there.
yeah, right.
And I love that. I mean, I absolutely love it. I don't care if I don't shoot very many deer. If I shoot a deer, then I don't get to go hunt the next day. And I like hunting more than I like killing. And anymore, my big thing has been I've been trying to shoot like really big does. I love.
Well, because if you can beat a big doe, you can beat about any
Man,
animal, especially a big whitetail doe.
You shoot a really big doe in mid to late October, and get within their comfort range of 15 yards and in. You've done something.
Yeah,
like
I
a
agree.
big buck can walk in front of you during the rut and not even think
He's
twice
not
about
even
it.
thinking about what he's doing.
No.
Sometimes, yeah.
But even in late season, I mean, I shot a really big doe. This was in 2018. It was the last weekend of Indiana's archery season. So I think it's the beginning of January into December. I don't remember the exact date. Shot her from 8 yards on the ground.
See, that's
And
awesome.
That was like, I was more proud about that than any of the bigger deer that I've killed. Because
Not
that was
only that is it gets you jacked up when you're on the
Yeah.
ground,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Hey, I pulled up just because for sake of conversation
Oh, okay.
here, and I think it's interesting. Stage 1, the shooter stage. Hunters at this stage simply want to do a lot of shooting, be it doves, ducks, squirrels, rabbits, or even deer. They want to test their shooting abilities as well as that of their rifle or shotgun. These hunters are beginners and are often young as well. Limiting out stage, eventually simply burning through a lot of ammunition is no longer sufficient. Hunters at this stage still gain a lot of satisfaction, gee whiz, from shooting, but now the hunter or birds or animals bag becomes important too, and limiting out or filling a tag is the gold standard. Trophy stage, from quantity to quality, hunters at this stage gain satisfaction from being selective and taking game, such as a duck hunter only shoots greenheads, a turkey hunter only shoots longbeards, or a deer hunter only takes mature bucks.
Doug, is that true?
These hunters often travel a long distance to hunt trophy animals.
Yep.
I mean, I think some of you can always stay a little in the trophy stage.
Yeah. They're all trophies, man.
Right. Well, it depends. Yeah, it's the individual.
I've got a shirt
right?
that says that.
I love that shirt. Method stage, taking game is still important, but more important is how the game is taken. So that kind of falls into some of the guys that do different traditional archery or trying different ways to take an animal, which is cool.
See, I don't need no shirt that says that.
You say that.
I show my size.
Your body says it.
I'm a trophy.
Your body says Spoon and Crockett. And
That's what's up.
The sportsman stage, basically the emphasis on the total hunting experience and being outdoors, enjoying the company of friends and family, and seeing nature in all its beauty. I think you can accompany all of these stages a little bit. I think you fall out of the limiting out stage and the shooter stage a little bit and more into 3, 4, and 5 as you mature.
Sure.
A blend of the three,
Yeah.
which I think is fair.
Yeah, I
But
agree with
I think
that.
that's pretty accurate. The 5 stages of sportsmanship. I think that's actually cool. I've seen this before, but I forgot about
I've
it.
actually never heard about it.
You never have?
No.
I like it. It makes sense because I think like the
Doug
sport-
doesn't read a lot, though.
Well, Doug also hasn't thought about having kids and stuff. And the sportsman stage, a big part
Never.
about having kids and
I wouldn't.
hunting with kids.
Hasn't crossed my mind once.
It's not for me. Never ever.
I heard if you get kids, you shoot crossbows.
Jeez.
That's why I'm scared to have one.
That's why I won't.
So I'm scared to have. Have you ever shot going from compound traditional? Have you ever messed around with a crossbow or anything?
Never once.
No. I'm scared of them.
I don't have a problem with the weapon.
Yeah.
I have a problem with them being in archery only seasons. I think
For
they're
the full length.
Yeah. I think they are they're an awesome weapon,
for sure. Yeah.
but it's not a bow.
I agree with you. Yeah. I think
If
that
it's
they're
not being held by the power of the arm and the hand, it's not a bow.
Yeah, I think this is controversial, but I don't think they should go away. I think they should have
No,
a
for
season.
sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Even if it's a 20-day season, I'm fine with that. But as long as it's got to have some sort of regulation.
Yeah.
But it's great for one episode we did for WC and DC. Chris Ziegler, he shot a really good buck this year in Ohio with a crossbow, but he had a big major shoulder injury.
He was shooting his bow and it
He was shooting his compound, his
his
shoulder
shoulder.
tore apart.
Yeah, I listened to that one.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
There's a big difference though between somebody who for instance, like that, right? Mm-hmm. And then an
physically can't
able-bodied,
shoot a bow.
mid-30s male
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't want to take the time to learn how to effectively shoot archery equipment.
Right.
yeah.
And that's the whole reason the archery seasons were established and the length that they were was because archery is supposed to be hard. Bow hunting's supposed to be hard. And
It's also what makes it fun. And when
Yeah.
you do kill one or you find success on whatever you consider that to be, it's so good.
yeah, and if you don't want to take the time to do that, then don't hunt during bow season.
Yeah.
Hunt with a gun. And there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just, we have those lengthy established seasons for those reasons.
Right.
So-
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm with you on that. I mean, there's a lot of people that disagree, and that's fine. That's cool. Everybody,
Maybe that's an unpopular opinion segment. or
I would
something.
say 50-50.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a 50-50 unpopular opinion. I think at the same time, you'll have a lot of guys be like, hey, it's a good way to get people into hunting. I agree with that. That's definitely a benefit. I think it's a good way to get kids into hunting. That's definitely a benefit. Different ways to look at it on that.
People with injuries. I mean,
People with injuries, that kids and injuries, by all means, I get it. But it's a debatable topic. Regardless of what your opinion is on it, it's a fairly debatable topic, I think.
And I think, that just because that's my opinion, and you guys will understand this, just because it's my opinion doesn't mean that it should be everybody's opinion.
Right.
That'd be a problem if it was.
I choose to not partake in that, right? So I guess I'm kind of hinting around at some other things. It's when you make your opinion, you try to force that on everybody else's because you think that's right.
Yeah.
It's,
if we all felt like
it's not my place.
Scottie over there.
Yeah, it's not my place to say how you receive your enjoyment in the woods.
Right.
Scotty's, sorry again, Snort Wheeze Scotty's face is getting a little red over there. I feel like.
My way is the way.
Well, I mean, it's warm in here too, and he's used to being outside with no sleeves on.
Yeah.
So
on the ground in the wind.
yeah.
Snort Wheeze Scottie, no offense, but you are exactly the hunters that nobody likes on social media.
Yeah, I don't really care.
It's to a T. Is what Snort Wheeze
Don't
Scottie
really
is.
care.
Yeah,
Don't really care.
don't phase me. I don't have Facebook.
My opinion is the best opinion. Your opinion sucks.
Okay.
That right there is the problem with a lot of things in hunting, like on Facebook, on anything.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
It's in no matter what community you're in. That's where social media is amazing. And then it's that Snort Wheeze Scottie's attitude is also what makes it not so fun. Like we've learned really recently in the last few days of recording this on the internet. But that's fine. Everybody has an opinion. That's cool.
For sure.
But and people are passionate about what they're into. But it's like the line of like, you're passionate about a lot of things, but I think you have the right balanced mindset of like, just because I'm so passionate about it, you're passionate about running. Snort Wheeze Scottie ain't running.
No, he don't run from anything.
Why?
No.
Why would you?
No,
Right.
it's I don't even know why I do. Unless
I
I'd be
don't
running
get it either. Run too much.
for sure.
But you know what I mean? It's one of those. I don't know where we're going with that, but anyway, I love the traditional idea, and it's something I definitely want to do. But I there's some stuff I want to get done first.
Yes.
Right.
You're on the same page,
Yeah.
Dave?
And I almost I was this close today to bringing you Gramps
Really?
because you're tagged out with bucks, right? What better time to take a longbow out?
Yeah.
It's late season. Find a food source, see if you can get a doe within 15 yards.
Shad, me and you don't agree on anything, but I agree on that right now.
Yeah. And even then, you're conflicted with agreeing
I
with
am.
me. Yeah, I get it.
You're mad about agreeing with him?
I'm conflicted with my own self most of the time. So
I that would be a ton of fun.
We're all a little confused.
Really, when it boils down to it, we're all a little lost, aren't we? I would love to go out and shoot a doe with a
wise words
recurve
over there.
It's honestly, it's like I wouldn't have the time to put into it.
yeah,
Sherrard's burning down.
man,
Or Sherrard, New Windsor.
New Windsor. It's crazy out there in the
I
streets.
didn't know where I am. Too much coffee.
Snort Wheeze Scottie's got to get out of here.
He got a little nervous.
That would have made the whole episode if you would have left in a panic.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. I gotta leave. Game warden.
Fire truck goes by. I'm a volunteer firefighter. I gotta go.
Yeah. But I think it would be a blast to try, and I will probably one day.
Oh, I'll for sure try it someday.
Like I think one day I'll commit to like how Chandler did last year.
Yeah.
Chandler committed to traditional archery
He
last
dove into
year,
it.
and I think surprised a lot of people.
I mean, yes and no. Like so, and that's what when him and I were talking about it. When he first approached me about shooting, going bow hunting with traditional equipment, I was like,
Yeah.
"What's your average shot? Do you think your average yardage is on deer?" And he's like,
Like in general, like
"Yeah,
with the compound.
yeah, like on average." He goes, 17 yards. I go, "You're there. You've already got the hard part figured out. The hard part is getting close, right?
Yeah.
So if you already know how to get close to deer, the rest of it's just practicing.
Shooting.
Yeah, you got to practice for sure, but you've already eliminated half of that variable.
That's a good point because I mean, yeah, being in the wheelhouse, but I think a lot of guys, that's hard for them to do consistently.
yeah.
Or to do it to where you're not going to burn yourself out.
That's where woodsmanship comes into play, though. I mean, with back again to bow hunting. It's supposed to be hard. This is where you learn woodsmanship.
Yep.
We all know that it's not that difficult to get within 80 yards of big animals. It's really not.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say that it is. but it's really not.
You can accidentally get within 100 yards of a big buck.
It's not that hard to consecutively get within 30 and under of deer and them not know you're there. I mean, you're gonna get busted every now and then,
of course, yeah.
but to have a sense of woodsmanship to where you're looking at the wind all the time, you're figuring your routes in and out of places. You're not over hunting areas. You're not doing, to look at this and to watch how the seasons change and how the animals change with the seasons and where they're going. I mean, that's part of this, right? So
that's why people get so attached to hunting and like I don't know, when I hunt a piece of property and get to learn the property and have like experience on it, man, there's something going on in New Windsor. I get like attached, to the property a little bit because you kind of like, I don't know, you like sort of have. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
you kind of have like an emotional like relationship with the ground you're on.
For sure. I mean, there's a bit of land that I used to be able to hunt. The landowner recently passed. Well, a couple years ago, passed away. And man, there's so many firsts on that land. I can't go back there anymore. It's under new ownership, right? But there's not a time that I don't drive by there and just be like, my wife took her first deer back there. I, killed my first deer with a longbow back there.
Yeah.
My son's first turkey was back there. One of my last deer hunts ever with my grandfather was back there. There's just so many really, really cool things that were on
good
that.
memories.
And they're never going to disappear. The memories. Anytime I drive past there, I've got stories for days.
Yeah, yeah. But you just wish you could go through there still.
Yeah, I wish. It's, I get emotional talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This really means a lot to me, and it's part of the reason why I try to promote what we do in such a positive way. I want to show people the good side of this stuff.
Definitely, 100%.
So it's why I want people to try to shoot a bow. It's why I want to take people out in the woods. It's why I was like, man, this stuff's really cool. Yeah, it never stops being cool. It changes every day. It's never the same.
Definitely. Yeah. Have you ever thought about doing any sort of like classes to get people into archery or anything like that?
No, because then it becomes a job.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
And it's much like, trying to become a professional musician or anything like that. Like everything I do is because it's from my soul.
Yeah.
And I'm passionate about it and I love it. And if I have to get paid for it or I'm trying to turn it into some form of employment, then it
ruins it for you.
Yeah. That's why I don't shoot in archery contests. If it wasn't for the fact, like the races that I run, it's just an excuse to go out and run in the woods with my friends for a day, but I don't go out there to try to win them. Right, I'm going out there to have fun, to go run 100 miles through the woods with my friends.
That's wild.
That is wild to me.
But it's just how I look at it. It's how I look at that stuff.
I get that. And that's probably like why you enjoy hanging out at the bow shoot we do, because it's like you're just doing your thing. You're not really obligated.
I don't even hardly shoot at those things.
Which I think is cool because you're worried about other people shooting.
Yeah. The first one I came to, I shot. That was, but I didn't shoot at all last year. I think I shot at the practice bells a couple times just to show people how to hold the bow. But
yeah. We barely get to shoot them. We ran through a couple times, but we split up and all that.
Yeah, I have more fun walking around with you guys, handing out prizes and getting people to do silly crap than
I know we're gonna do
shooting
that.
myself.
That was fun. Yeah,
we normally do drawings for the giveaways, and I liked walking around on the course.
That was so fun.
It was a blast because people are like, "What? You're giving me this?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're here."
It's a lot better too than just drawing a name out of the hat and be like, "Here you go." Like you get a group of people. Hey, whoever gets the closest.
Yeah, when we
wins
throw
those
shot
prize.
competitions out, just makes archery fun.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it should be. And I think it was like that. Was there a carp or something? There was one target that we had on the string.
On a zip line,
yeah. And we were trying to get people to shoot it at the same time. And that was a blast, man. That's fun stuff.
Kurt just gave that little girl a rangefinder. Was like, "You shoot that?" She's like, "Yeah, that's mine." He's like, "Good shot." She's like, "What?"
I mean, that's fun,
Yeah.
And it's
awesome.
funny watching the parents get more stoked about oh my God, that's a loophole rangefinder, and
Hey,
shot
Dad,
the
you need a new
loophole.
rangefinder? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's this one for your daughter?
Dad was smiling.
It's not yours.
The kid has no idea what it is.
No. I mean, I'm sure it was a younger girl. She's going to learn real quick.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure as she gets older, or maybe next year. I know she's a good shot.
Yeah.
She's shooting her bow. It was cool to see, man.
That was
all right.
Man, I had
cold-blooded over there.
That was probably my favorite thing, was to see all the kids out there this year.
Yeah.
There was a lot more kids.
Man, I love seeing kids shoot archery.
Yeah.
Especially girls, because you don't see a lot of them.
Yeah.
And it's really refreshing. I mean, because if we don't, this dies if we don't keep it going.
It'll die fast.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have the youth involved.
It's gonna die with me.
Don't talk.
The strong words.
It's scary though, because the way, and a lot of it sucks that it boils back down to politics, because it kind of does, because that's politics is what would end hunting.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's, you have to just get, it's like a traditional thing, like tradition in life, and it's because it's a lifestyle. But my daughter, maybe she won't want to hunt, but I'm gonna throw archery at her. If it sticks, cool.
Yeah.
If not, that's fine. But all you can do is try and get them into it and let them have fun.
That's right.
I mean, between my wife and I, we have 5 children together, ranging from 25 to 15 years old. They've all shot. They all shoot. They all can shoot.
Yeah.
Chase is the only one that's ever, killed a deer with a bow. My son Brennan has tried. Most of them, it didn't stick with them, right? They'll still do it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they have a lot, like their entire youth was us going to our vacations, because when you have 5 children together, like you don't have a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah.
Our vacations were going to traditional shoots and camping out at them. And
that's
we'd
cool.
go there for like 3 or 4 days. And the kids, they'll never forget that stuff.
Yeah.
Right, right.
And they were just running around with their friends and shooting arrows, and
That's awesome.
having a blast, right?
Yeah.
We camped through some crazy storms during that stuff, and they learned that you can survive through these things.
Right.
And
It's a good, like, wholesome way to like raise kids, I feel like.
I mean, there was some debauchery that goes on, like in any, like they probably saw me get drunk on moonshine way too many times.
Well, hey,
Hell
But-
yeah, brother. That's what I'm talking about.
who hasn't seen their dad drunk on moonshine? Let's be honest.
I don't know.
In the Midwest.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's it ain't a family vacation without that.
Let's take a poll. I for sure have. Doug?
I don't think on moonshine, but
Well, you seem to get pretty
yeah,
drunk.
I've seen him get drunk.
Eric?
Oh yeah.
What about you?
Every weekend.
Yeah. It's the only way I go hunting, too.
Oh,
A couple good pulls and go out in the woods, baby.
That's how you stay warm without the sleeves on, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So stupid. I'm like mildly regret having Snort Wheeze Scottie on this
yeah, I
podcast.
can't stop. I keep looking at him. Can't stop smiling.
Life's full of regrettable things.
I'm learning real fast.
Yes, you are.
It's like you already broke character like 5 seconds
No,
in. So.
no, he didn't.
No,
Oh, that's just how it's just you.
I just like to laugh.
Okay. All right. Well, Shad, what do we cover from here, man? Because you're a good dude, man. We wanted you on here to just speak positivity from traditional equipment to just life in general. But you're a good dude to have in the group because you're always like positive vibes. And yeah, I've never seen you bummed.
I go there.
I know you do. Everybody does.
I go there.
But when we're together, it's always good vibes.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, I love this stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like I do. And I hope that resonates to others. Like I want them to see that this stuff's really fun.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be serious about it.
Yeah, you don't have
All
to
the
stress
time.
yourself out with it.
No. And it's,
Look at me.
You're relaxed. Well, big deer stress people out, I think.
they do. Big deer are, so on my way here, I was talking to Joe Humphreys on the phone.
Shout out to Joe.
I make bad choices in best friends, and he's one of them. And,
I can see that.
Yeah, that's a real bad choice.
but here we are.
Yeah.
We've made a really bad marriage work really good for a long period of time.
Yeah,
Incredible you
best
guys are
way
still
to live.
together.
Yeah. So, but we were discussing things, and I used to think that mushroom hunters were like the worst, right? Like, mushroom hunters don't care about property lines.
No, they
care.
don't.
I mean, and
I like searching for mushrooms, but I have a theory about mushroom hunters.
yeah, I mean, I've had so many turkey hunts.
If a
ruined.
mushroom hunter smokes Marlboro Reds, they find all the mushrooms.
That's science.
That ain't
though.
no joke.
That's science.
That ain't no joke.
I'm not saying it's a fact, but just
It
look
is
it
a
up.
fact.
Do the scientific research on it.
But I mean, anymore, it's deer
Yeah.
hunting and big bucks has just
Great
became
stat.
so weird. Like it makes friends hate each other.
Yeah.
It's
Neighbors, friends.
like for instance, when Garret, his buck got stolen.
Yeah.
My other best friend Tubby, same situation happened to him this year.
Really?
He shot a really nice buck from about 10 yards on the ground with one of my recurves. He shoots traditional all the time. And he wanted to borrow one of my bows this year and hunt with it, and wanted to change his shooting up a little bit. And midday, early November, he was, weaseling through a thicket, just doing some midday scouting, looking for a place to maybe move a stand to. And this really big buck came just strolling through 10 yards. Didn't know he was there. put a good shot on it. It must have been just a little bit back because the deer ran about 250 yards before it crossed the property line. The property owner he hunts on contacted the other property owner. They wouldn't let him come on to get it.
No kidding.
And then they ended up hearing, them come up with side-by-sides into the area where that deer.
After they got the call, they went and checked.
Yeah, yeah. And the guy wouldn't let him go back there because it was a few days before Indiana's firearm season started. He said, no, I've got stands back there. Gun season comes in Saturday. I don't want anybody walking back there. And he's like, man, we just want to go recover our deer.
So Indiana, you had to have permission.
Oh, yeah.
Illinois is the same way.
Yeah, there's been deer that I've not been
I
able to
remember that
retrieve
phone call.
because of
Crazy.
that. You were that guy?
Yeah.
So
Same in Michigan too. That was mine too.
that was me. They wouldn't let him go get it.
No,
So they went and got us deer, and then what?
nothing happens from it. You can't-
Man, I can.
You can't
Hey,
even
if you go
just
grab my
whack
deer
the head
for
off.
me and just let me
and
have it.
I was like, when Tubby was calling me and talking to me, I was like, dude, offer him $100. Just offer him a trespassing fee. Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, it's not. They wouldn't go for it.
It's just mind blowing that he said, I don't want anyone in there, but then they go drive side by side in there and just blow it all out and take a deer out.
The problem I think with it was when the landowner that Tubby was hunting on mentioned that he'd shot a nice buck. And I think that's what started it all, right? If he just said he shot a doe, probably wouldn't have been
Things got
Shot
weird.
as
He
big
said,
of
"I
a
shot
deal.
a deer."
Yeah. But, then it got weird, right? And the bad part about this is that the people that they were trying to get on, they just bought that property this year. Well, there's going to come a time when they're going to shoot an animal and it's going to cross property lines, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, then you come into the conflict of like,
Do you be a dick about it?
yeah, or not, because you don't. I mean, you're never going to get that deer back,
Yeah.
even if you,
Right.
And you don't want to have that relationship with a property neighbor.
No.
That's a bad way to start it.
And-
That's a bummer, man. That bums me out to hear.
Yeah, it happens. I mean,
More than we hear about, I think.
yeah,
Oh,
it's happened to
all the
me.
time.
It's
Yeah.
the land that I was talking to you about before that the gentleman passed away. I had an episode like that where I shot a buck with a recurve, and the shot was a little bit back, and the deer crossed the property line into a thicket. Landowner wouldn't. I had a dog, we had a dog. It was pulling us straight there
Yeah,
every
beeline
time,
right to the deer. Yeah.
and the guy wouldn't let us go back there and retrieve it.
So that's a bummer, man. I had a property, a guy who hunts neighboring property, shot a deer, jumped the fence on the ground. I can hunt. And I was like, yeah, let me meet you out there. And it was a shoulder hit. I actually saw the deer alive a few weeks later. Just you could tell he'd been
Yeah.
hit in the shoulder. And I was like, let me go with you. I'll help you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't want him
Right.
walking around by himself because I didn't know the guy. So I'm like, yeah, I'll meet you down there. I'll help you look.
It's just
Well, and that kind of helps them too, because if you come out there, you're like, okay, if the deer jump here, you kind of know where they go.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
going to go this way.
Well, not only that too is like the way I thought of it is, it's like, man, if I shoot when it jumps the fence, I now have your number.
yeah.
And hey,
You come help me?
Hey, jump the fence. Will you go with me? Let's
Right.
go. I'm not up to anything weird. I just want to find my deer.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're all
right.
supposed to be stewards of the woods, right?
I know.
Like it's just sad that that's what it's became.
I know.
When I was young, it was never like that, and that's like I hate
Trail
to do
cams.
This. That's part of it, but I mean, I hate to throw that like back in my day kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's I've watched it change so much, and I don't really care for where it's went to. Like,
Do you think it'll ever go back?
no,
No, you
no,
don't.
I don't, because so like if somebody say my first deer, right, that when we got on the phone and started calling people, say, oh, Shad got his first deer. My gramps is calling. Man, there were so many people came over to his house to like shake my hand over this doe, right? And now you could shoot a 190-inch deer, and somebody, hey, send me a picture of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Send me a picture of it, and then nothing. Like people used to go to, you'd go to their
Right.
house, you'd go hang out in their garage or their barn or
I'll
the
tell you
tree
this.
outside or whatever.
When my dad killed the Geyer buck, he killed it in 2004. I remember being at the processor, checked it in, and then like they had a different location where you'd go drop the deer off from where they actually like where you check the deer. It's kind of weird setup, but it was cool because just like in a parking lot, pull in.
Because you guys had like deer check-ins, right?
I don't remember then. I don't know. I don't remember
I missed
exactly.
those. I
did
really
too.
We
missed
never
those.
had
We
them,
never had them,
but I remember someone talking about
Used
them
to be
here
like
in
a
Illinois.
parade going through during shotgun
Yep.
season. But this is bow season. We went to this spot. It was at the processor. So I don't know if he had to go check it in and then went to a different spot. I can't remember. I was pretty young. But I remember the guys wanted to come out and see the deer. So my dad went and dropped the tailgate. and dude, a crowd of people came up. I watched like a 90-year-old man like come over and shake my dad's hand.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like these cool, it's just like this cool moment of everyone like showing appreciation for, I mean, it's an exceptionally large deer, but it was like cool to see that. Now I don't know if that, maybe it would happen the same, but
Probably wouldn't.
But I just don't see it happening the same.
I can remember, like, and this wasn't even, I think Indiana got rid of theirs, maybe started getting rid of them about 10 years ago, the check-in station. Somewhere, I don't know
Yeah,
exactly.
I can't remember when Illinois cut it out.
But it's I can remember, especially opening weekend of firearm season. That's what you did midday. Like, people didn't really know a whole lot about hunting all day back then, right?
Yeah.
So
That was like the Facebook back then.
You'd go hang out at the check
yeah,
station.
so you would come out of the woods,
Go
and you'd
show your
grab
deer
some
off.
lunch, and you'd swing by whatever the closest check station is just to see who's out there.
I think the gas station in the strip where our studio's at, maybe I'm mistaken on this. I think that used to be a check station.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And there'd be people out, like, I mean, if you were at an outdoor shop or whatever, they'd have, like, you know, a big kettle of soup beans cooking out there or something like that. And people just hang out.
That's kind of awesome.
And,
That is awesome.
And I mean, even when Gander Mountain was a check station in Terre Haute, like, opening day of firearm season, people just go sit in the parking lot and wait for people to bring deer in.
Tailgating.
Yeah.
Man, let's bring check stations back.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
It's,
I'm in favor.
for sure.
We should vote them in. That'd be fun.
Just have one here and just have a bum fire going back.
That'd be awesome.
Out back at
I'd
all
sign us up
times.
for a check station.
Have a grill going.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, man.
I mean, you guys got
Tailgate.
short firearm seasons over here, so it'd be,
we could do it, yeah.
yeah. I mean, in
Kill a
Indiana,
deer, grab a brat,
I'll run
grilling
it.
out.
I'll
yeah.
grill out.
Yeah, old Snort Wheeze Scottie can.
You'll come out?
Yeah.
You do that because you don't
That's
gun
pretty
hunt,
cool.
so you could be here.
Tell everybody to get bent. Show off my own deer.
That's a
Every
nice
year
deer,
comes
but
a
here's
fall.
mine.
Well,
talk
we gotta
about
get,
how they cheated by using a firearm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
did great about the check
Compound.
station. Great, glad to have you, Snort Wheeze Scottie. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Shad, thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks
Always
for
nice
coming.
to have you in.
Always,
Doug,
nice, always
Eric?
nice to see you.
Yeah.
It was good. You guys want to close out with anything?
Nope.
Love you, Shad.
Don't think we should have brought Snort Wheeze Scottie here, but
Yeah,
he's here.
I'm real glad you made it.
I know.
All right.
All right, let's get on with it. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. WC on DC. We appreciate you. Go shoot a giant. See, I keep forgetting. Hey guys, back with another Giant Tracker segment here on WC on DC. And this is kind of a fun Giant Tracker segment. It got set up this past weekend when I was at the Lincoln, Nebraska show. Met Garret there. What's up, man?
Not much, man. How's it going?
It's going good. Good to see you again. It's kind of funny. We chatted just a few days ago, and I'm like, you use DeerCast with this? You're like, yep. I'm like, all right, we got to do a segment on it because we had talked earlier in the show, and you're like, yeah, I shot a pretty good deer this year. You're like, oh, cool. Yeah, that's awesome, man. And then I see
I
you.
said I shot a big one. I just, you don't want to be like that guy.
Right. Well, then I look over and I see you holding it like, I don't know, half hour later. I'm like, get over here. Like, this is not just a big one. It's an incredible deer.
Right.
So, man, introduce yourself and talk about, don't give specifics, but what state you're in and all that.
Right. Yeah. I'm in Missouri. Northern Missouri is about as specific as I'll get. And then I farm for a living. We have a pretty good row crop operation, and then I run a seed stock Angus operation. So we actually have our bull sale coming up in February. So we're crazy busy with calving and trying to get ready for bull sale and all that stuff. So
Awesome.
that's just kind of that's what I do for a living, and then where I live is Northern Missouri.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Because when I met you, I'm like, oh, is this a Nebraska deer? Because we're at a show in Nebraska, but you were up there
Right.
actually doing cattle business.
Yeah, I was putting out sale flyers. I always make a loop north, loop south, and loop east and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? It's like, it'll be neat. I've been wanting to go to that one. I can't go to the Classic this year because of a family vacation deal. So I was like, you know what? That'd be cool to hit that one up. I'll just do my flyers that day.
Mhm.
And then, of course, it ended up being a snowstorm, but it all worked out.
Awesome, man. So let's talk about this deer, man. I know you have the rack with you, and I held the rack in person, took some photo videos. I'll overlay here, but
So the buck, we ended up counting him as there's 26 points. Now, where things get iffy is I'm not an official scorer. Like, I can score a typical deer all day long, but there's enough little nooks and crannies and points coming off of points and the bases that we weren't really sure exactly how to score him. So my taxidermist and I kind of threw a green score on him, but we won't know the official score until it would be February 11th is the first day that he's certified to be eligible to score.
Awesome.
So he was a typical 7x7 when we first got the pictures of him. And as you can see, like those points just bang, bang, bang line up. He was just an awesome deer to chase. The first time I got a picture of him, he was the 10th picture in on that card in August. And I put the camera out in late July. And there's always good deer in that area. And it actually caught me off guard because the first couple of days, I was like, who is this absolute giant that showed up out of nowhere? And then it hit me one day on the farm. I was like, oh, this deer, I might have a picture of this deer in 2019. And so I pull up, my old pictures that I have saved on my computer, and there he is. I think I sent you that picture. You can probably post it on the video.
Yeah.
Him 19. He's got that tine that comes in. That's very specific. He's got these two guards starting, and then he's got his eye guards. They were the dead giveaways for him, and he's already got 6 on this side in 2019.
I'm going to pull this up while you're talking because.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So this is 2019 photo in August, right? Oh, right. Yeah. Without a doubt. Yeah. Same deer.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Those have started, and he's got his eye guards and, like I say, all the points on this side already. He's actually missing 2 points. Maybe hard to see. There's the tallest brow here, and I guess you'll have the other trail camera pictures of that before he lost them. And then he's got a tine here that's gone that looks like it's got a story behind it that I have yet to hear. But,
yeah, we talked about that a bit at the show. It's like, did someone try poaching him and shoot part of his rack off? Because that's a weird spot to break a point off, like in a fight, and not break off something bigger.
Right, and the closer you look at it, I just can't see how it's not. I mean, and the first picture we have of that deer missing that G3 was the day after rifle season closed. So things kind of line up that he disappeared from our farm from October 17th until November 23rd.
That made you nervous, I bet.
Absolutely. In fact, I was doing a guy was going to do a magazine article or an online article, and I was talking to him about it. He goes, so you're pretty much rooting for this deer to win so that he can lose with you later. I was like, I can't put it any better than that. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying
That's the best way to explain it. So what date did you shoot him on?
I shot him on December 10th, and then I recovered him the morning of the 11th.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Or, I guess of 21, right?
Yeah.
So
2020.
You might have said, or did you have pictures of him in 20?
None. So 19, I get the best picture I have is the one I sent you. And then I have like 3 or 4 others that you can tell it's him, but they're kind of like he's moving by the camera, blurry, stuff like that. Yeah. And it's at a farm that I own 3/4 of a mile north of where I shot him. But then I also got some pictures of him on the farm I shot him on in 19. So then 20 rolls around and nothing. And since he wasn't a mature deer, it was just one of those deer that you're like, man, I really hope this guy lives. But I wasn't really thinking about him much. No pictures. Well, then after talking to the neighbor this summer, he was not very far away, like hundreds of yards away. They're getting pictures of this deer. He just wasn't particularly on our farm, or else I didn't have the cameras, in the right spot. So
because it's only telling what's in front of that one spot. So
right. But then 21 rolls around, and he is blowing my camera up from basically the end of July through October 17th. He's on that thing a lot. A lot. So
what was the game plan going in? I mean, what would you kill him with, a bow or gun or crossbow?
Yep, we got him with a bow, a Matthews bow. 48 yards was the shot, which I shoot quite a bit of long distance in the summer, 100 yards, stuff like that. And I've shot a buck at 60 before, so I was really confident in that shot. But it's one of those things that where he was actually summering was one of those places where you wouldn't think a buck would live at all. Like he was just in the middle of nowhere. He had feed, water, and he had some clover. He had everything he wanted within about 200 yards, and he just didn't leave there. I saw him on the hoof in early September before the season started. And then a neighbor saw him and was like, hey man, that is the biggest deer I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, yeah, he's huge. Do you mind just like not telling anybody you saw that deer for a while?
Smart move. Did he hold a secret?
Yeah, he did. Props to the neighbor. Like anytime that I call coyotes in or shoot him, he does some fur bearing stuff. So I give him all pelts and things like that. So yeah,
Good you got going on with the neighbor. Then it sounds like. I mean, and that's the fear. It's exciting to see deer like that. So you want to tell people, and then that like it's. I hate to say it this way, but deer like that can almost ruin an area and bring a lot of negative attention from people who aren't willing to follow the law.
Absolutely.
Like, if that buck did get away from a poacher's bullet, I mean,
right. That's just it. This deer has made his rounds in the county, in multiple counties, and people that I didn't even knew about the deer have talked to me about it. And so I know most of the people that hunt in that area, and no one's came forward and been like, yeah, I shot at that deer, like on the run or anything like that. Or, hey, I saw him sitting there and I shot at him. Like no one said anything. So
they're not going to now.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it was potentially something that shouldn't have been happening.
That's what it adds up to me as well. So when you see this deer coming in the day that you shot him, I mean, how far was he when you first saw him, and then what was going through your head?
So that day, I'd taken my old Ford truck into the Ford dealership, and a really good hunting buddy of mine works there. And I was like, okay, like DeerCast and my other weather apps say the wind's coming out of the northeast. It's a perfect wind for him. My neighbor to the south, which a pivotal part of this story is that my neighbor to the south and I created a great relationship over this deer. We'd always known who each other were, but we'd never shared deer pictures. We'd never, strategized on deer. And he's a great dude that owns the property, bow hunts only. And we were both like, hey, we both hope that one of us gets him. Obviously, we both hoped it was ourselves, but we hope that one of us gets this deer. And he actually texted me December 9th and said, hey, that buck's with a doe right on your property line. And so I had been waiting for the right wind, kind of been all season long. I had very strategically gone in there as far as the wind had to be perfect. The weather had to be right. DeerCast had to be on point, stuff like that. And so it was just one of those things where the stars kind of lined up. So when I'm talking to that guy at the Ford dealership, I'm like, actually, that wind's supposed to switch like 45 minutes before dark out of the northwest. So instead of going to my tree stand in the southwest corner of that field, I said, I'm going to sit on the ground on some pine trees that are on the edge of our field. That way I've got an exit strategy. Because if that wind slaps me in the back of the neck, 45 minutes to dark, I'm bailing. I'm out.
Right. And that's prime time. You don't want to have to get down then.
Exactly. And where the trail comes out of the bedding area and CRP onto our food source, I was like, I just can't risk it. Because if when you're in that corner, you're there till 30 minutes after dark, just trying to get out with all the deer in the field every night. It's one of the fields that gets a lot of deer in it. So I'm looking up, some does come out, I'm glassing, and all of a sudden there's about 10 does start popping over the hill from the east. But what's weird is they're already in the center of the field instead of coming out of like the timber and CRP. But there's also CRP to the east of this field. So they could have come from there.
Gotcha.
But it's not where they typically come from. And so I'm glassing, and all of a sudden I take my binos over, and boom, he's filling my binos. And I'm like, that's him. There he is. And so he's with this doe. And what was kind of funny watching him was he was running off other does. Like anytime any animal got next to that hot doe he was with, he was like, get back, just stay away from him.
No kidding. And so he's out in the open with these does?
Yeah, he's in the wide open. So to preface that, like the reason that we only hunted great winds, and like during that month I wasn't getting any pictures, we hunted down there like 2 or 3 times total because I wanted all the does to be concentrated on our farm for late season. We also flew on some cover crops. So we flew on turnips, radishes, and rye on top of our standing cornfield in August. And that was in preps of, we do cover crop on hundreds of acres of corn every year anyways, but I kind of told Dad, like, we need to make darn sure we got turnips and radishes growing down there so that we got the winter feed. So that if we don't get this deer harvested before then, we've got a great chance late season. We're the main food source there anyways, but I wanted green and grain at the same time.
Very smart.
So, yeah. And so it all kind of came together.
So you got lack of pressure. The food is there.
Yes.
You're using DeerCast to know when to go. You're conscious of your wind. You're conscious of wind changes.
Absolutely.
And the reason why I'm listing this stuff off is that way this isn't a coincidence. This is more of a calculated move probably than you'll even give yourself the credit. But
Right.
You know, and I always say big bucks take effort, and all your effort right now is lining up, which is why this
Right.
deer's in the open
Yes.
in daylight.
And in the open, for most deer I've shot, like everyone, has been a fairly quick scenario. This deer came out and was in the field for 45 minutes from the time I saw him to the time I released the arrow. It was 45-minute stretch.
So he wasn't out there and then trying to get the heck out of there fast.
No,
You know?
they were just feeding from the east to the west toward me, and they were feeding on, like, you know, that cover crop and probably finding an ear of corn here or there, or something that didn't make it in the combine. And the other does, so it ended up being about 12 does in the field besides he and the doe he's with.
Mhm.
And he and the doe actually bedded down at somewhere right around 100 yards. So
Okay.
when he came out, he was at like 160 moving toward me, and then they bed down at around 100. And it's like probably still 40 minutes to dark. And I'm like, please stand up.
Oh, man.
Okay,
The clock's ticking at that point.
right. Yeah. I'm like thinking about throwing some grunts out, but I got these other does that have continued to feed to the west. So like I can't do much. I'm on the ground. Like I just got to just hope. And so then they actually only bedded down for about 5 minutes, stood up. And then once they kind of broke that, they milled around there eating from 100 to 90 yards for quite a while. And then once they broke that like 90, 85 yard mark, they just pretty much like just started walking. And like, so there were does kind of above me on the hill, and these two were still below me, and they just kind of started angling toward me. And when they hit that 60 yard mark, which is where I'm comfortable shooting, I was like, that's when things got pretty real. That like this is going to come together, because they're still just beelining toward me.
Mhm.
So I'm behind this pine tree, and I'm like, okay, it looks like deer up on the hill. They're kind of angling up the hill. They're going to come right to left, and then I'm gonna have my shot here.
Yeah.
And then he didn't want her by those other does, and so he actually worked up the hill on her and kind of pressured her to go back down the hill a little bit.
Mhm.
So then kind of luckily I like cleaned all the leaves and stuff out from underneath my feet prior, and I just kind of turned my body. When she came out, I had my rangefinder right here on a tether.
Yeah.
And I hit her, and she was at 48. So I turned my dial on my single pin, and then I just assumed like surely he's going to be right there. You know,
Yeah,
I didn't want to waste range in him specifically. And so then right about the time I got my deal down, got my hand back on my release, he was just poking out of that pine tree coming up behind her. I drew back and let her rip, baby.
Hammered him.
No. I thought I hit him better than I did.
Yeah.
48 for me is a pretty, I mean, I can shoot a couple inch group at 48 pretty easy every day. And so I was really confident in that shot.
Mhm.
And it looked to me like it hit low and maybe a little bit back. What I didn't realize is that I think the deer was angled harder than I had given him credit for.
Mhm.
And because the arrow actually came out, so he's working left to right, and the arrow came out on the back side of his front leg. It like cut the meat on the back side of his front leg.
Gotcha. Okay.
I felt really good about the hit, and then he's running off. I was like, he was a touch low, but it's kind of in that wheelhouse. So he runs straight back to the east. Kind of the other does, they kind of jog off. Doe he's with they run up to about, I don't know, 150, 200 yards up on the hill.
Mhm.
And he runs out to like 150-ish and stops, and he's right at where that hill will break over where I can't see him if he goes farther.
Mhm.
And he's standing there and just vigorously shaking his tail. And he's kind of got that that hunchback look.
Yep.
And I've got a really bad experience on an Iowa hunt about 5 years ago. I lost about a 180 that reacted the same way.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, it instantly, like I was excited, but doubt kind of set in. So it was a pass through. I was able to get out there maybe right before dark, and I found the arrow. Basically, I crawled out to the arrow.
Right.
It was up on top of the hill, and they started back east after they all kind of ran off. And so that was an experience in, like, you know, you feel awesome, and at the same time you don't. So I started like texting, Snapchatting buddies, like, hey, I got an arrow in him. I text my neighbor to the south, like, hey, I've got an arrow in him. And so then we actually started talking about the reaction. And I look up on DeerCast, and it says, you know, hey, it's like one was like a 5 to 8 hour wait.
Yeah. DeerCast track is what you're referencing.
Yeah, DeerCast track. So the next one was like 12 to 15 hours, depending on, I used a couple different versions and kind of moved the deer's body around a little bit.
Yeah.
And then my neighbor texts me, and he's like, hey, I see on Google that like something with a really fast flickering tail says liver hit 12 to 18 hours or something. I was like, oh my gosh. So basically I knew right then to back out.
Yeah.
I didn't feel good about it because that place is loaded with coyotes. Like,
Yeah.
So I was like, but I actually woke up at 1 a.m. and started over there. And I was like, nope, get the heck out of here.
Yeah. Doing that internal battle with yourself. I mean, anybody else would be doing the same thing.
I actually drove halfway to the farm and then turned around at 1 a.m. and came back home.
You did.
I wasn't sleeping anyways. So I was like,
I've probably been doing the same thing, man. I don't think anybody else could blame you for that.
Right. So, Dad is my main man. I mean, he's the one that I do all my hunting stuff with, and he was on vacation in Tennessee. So that kind of sucked that I had to call him instead of like having him come join me. But the deer had actually only gone like 80 more yards over the hill and died right there.
Awesome.
So I don't know when he died. I wish I'd maybe gone in at 1 o'clock or something because the coyotes got into him pretty good.
I mean, that's just something that happens. We had a recent experience with Austin Chandler's buck, that big drop time buck that we had I showed on another Giant Tracker segment, and coyotes overnight ate that thing, ate its nodes off, ate its ear off. It's that's just how it is sometimes, man.
Was that the one that kind of got the bad publicity?
Yep, that was it.
It was weird. Like, I don't remember when I listened to that podcast, but I listened to it and I didn't watch it. But when I listened, that was 2-4 days after I recovered this one.
You know what? That Austin shot that buck, I believe, on I don't remember the exact date. Between the 6th and the 9th, he shot that buck of December. So it was real close to when you shot yours.
So I tried my hardest to make sure like all my pictures are from one side of that deer. And like there's no rear end of the deer in any of the pictures because I was trying to hide all that. Well, I didn't know what you guys talked about on that podcast. So it was just like perfect timing that I did that. And I didn't know if I should show it or not. And then I listened to that podcast. I'm like, I'm really glad I worked really hard to get all my pictures with no coyote damage in them after listening to that deal. So,
well, and the thing is, we had the pictures, we had clean pictures, and we had the other pictures that showed the honest situation. But we knew if we would have posted a picture of Austin holding a skull cap of this 190-inch buck, first thing that's going to red flag is someone be like, well, there's something shady that happened with that one.
Right.
So we kind of thought it was a lose-lose no matter what. So we were better to show what honestly happened. In the way just tooth and claw Mother Nature is. It's just coyotes got to eat too. Unfortunately, they're not our best friends as deer hunters, but
they are.
Can you blame them? I mean, what the heck?
No, I mean, they wouldn't have cared if it was a 200 or if it was a tiny little yearling doe. They wouldn't have cared.
Exactly.
It was meat for them. So it was one of those deals that you don't feel good about finding your deer that way, but I still feel like with the information I had, it was the right decision. And I'm going to live with it. And that's just how I feel about it. So
you made the right decision, man. It's just, what do you do? There's really nothing you can do about that. That's part of the game. Because the risk is you go in trudging over the hill and he's bedded there and he gets up and runs 5 miles and then gets eaten by coyotes anyway. And you don't get anything off of him. And then it's just a lost cause even more.
Yeah. We're the food source. And if I jumped him, I was like, I'm surrounded by CRP, really thick ditches. Like, it's going to be tough to find this deer in 6 foot tall, 200 some acres of CRP. I just need to get out of here and leave this thing alone. So it all worked out in the end. Like I say, it's not the perfect scenario, but I feel good about it. Now, I still know I made the right decision based on like DeerCast, talking to the neighbor, watching that deer walk over that hill after he stood there for like a couple minutes, like say with his tail shaking and hunchbacked. Because that's what that 180 did in Iowa. He stood at like 150, 200 yards, and he stood there for probably the better part of 10 minutes. And he ended up walking off. He ended up walking hundreds of yards, and then I didn't recover him. I actually jumped him out of his bed 9 hours later. So it's one of those deals that I had that pretty fresh in my mind. Like,
I can
that
imagine.
one still stings, so this one would probably sting even a little bit worse. So.
Yeah, it would. It would have. Yeah. What was your reaction when you picked the rack up? Was he bigger than you thought, or about what you thought he was?
Way more massive than I thought. When you get into how, like, when you held it, you remember how heavy it was?
Yeah.
Like frame wise, I've shot some really framey deer, big deer.
Mhm.
The frame on this one isn't anything overly impressive. There's just so many points. The mass carries great all throughout. Had that tine not been broke off, that was a little bit palmated there, he'd have had two, like right at 7-inch mass measurements. And so it's just crazy. Like his fourth mass measurement out here was 5 7/8.
Wow.
And so it's just kind of crazy that, I mean, this one here was only about 5.5 or 5 3/8. I can't remember exactly, but
What did he green score at?
so the taxidermist and I did him at 218. And like we didn't count this one because we could only get 7/8 out of this little point, this little kicker here. That one we could only get 7/8, so we didn't count those. So that's our best guess. So please, whenever people listen to this and the official score comes out at either a gross of 215 or 220.
Yeah.
You
It's just the way it is. I mean, that Dustin
I
Huff
don't really
buck
know what I'm doing with all of this junk that's down in here because
it gets confusing.
Character and stuff in there. So
Well, don't feel bad if it does, because I think that's just how it is sometimes. Dustin Huff's buck, that big typical that was shot in Indiana, I think it netted bigger than because when I interviewed him, I think he was right around 206, 207 net is what he was thinking. And then they did a panel score on and it came out at like 211, I believe. I might be a little off on that, but so it grew. I mean, it's tough. Anytime you get into those big, crazy monster deer like that, it's hard telling what they're going to go.
Yep. No, I was wanting to, people from Missouri, we don't give people compliments. We give them a hard time, and that's how you know that we like you.
Yeah.
And I was going to give Mark and Terry a hard time because DeerCast said bad that day, but what DeerCast can't account for is a hot doe, right? And so even though it's like super accurate, I love using the app. I got to give them a hard time. DeerCast said bad, and I shot a buck of a lifetime. So
I love it.
We got to add that to the algorithm. We got to add a hot doe on every farm to the algorithm.
Right. Well, that's they have the DeerCast custom, but I think it's funny because you see people talk about DeerCast in some of these like forums, even our Working Class Bowhunters group on Facebook. I think people expect Mark and Terry to predict every time a yearling doe gets up on their property. And then I made a joke. I'm like, well, you want them to predict all this stuff for an app that costs you little or no money for a year. And you get the full Drury Outdoors library. You get this amazing podcast included in that. But then, it's like, and then you got to factor in like, okay, all your sloppy hunting tactics that you put on your hunting ground. You want Mark and Terry to filter through that too? I mean, if you want to start complaining about every time you see a yearling doe that it said bad on DeerCast, we can break it down even farther and see how many times you hunted the wrong wind on a certain stand. And then we'll talk and see who's really messing up here, which is funny, but all good fun.
So many people that don't even use the terrain when they walk in or anything. They just walk right over the top of the hill to a tree stand. Then they wonder why, they don't see many deer. Like say they don't pay attention to wind. And so much stuff goes into like say it still takes so much luck to kill. Like I've killed quite a few big deer. It still takes luck. That deer has to decide to come by you, but you still have to put in all the prior points to sway that pendulum to your side as much as you can. You'll never have control of it, and we don't want control of it. That isn't the point of it. But you've got to do as many things as you can, like say the cover crop and twice I went in the pouring rain and checked trail cameras on this deer because I just didn't want any scent left. My dad was like, "You've lost your mind. Like this deer's gotten to you." I'm like, "No, I'm just trying to be extra cautious on this one, just to keep him around, So
that's what makes the difference between someone that's consistent with their success. That doesn't mean a big buck every year because, like you said, it takes a lot of luck. Sometimes it's just the luck's not there. You can do everything right.
When you're chasing 160 pluses, you're not going to get one every year.
No.
But if you're devoted to saying, hey, I'm willing to eat a tag sandwich if I don't get one of these two deer I'm after, then that's what it is.
Well, that goes to show the effort to big bucks shows versus the guys who just want to comment must be nice on the guys who kill the big bucks.
After they posted the Field and Stream article on that online, the must be nice that started coming through, and kudos to some. I wasn't going to comment anything, but kudos to the people that were trying to stand up for me. Like, like somebody says, high fence deer, and somebody wrote like, yeah, 3-foot barbed wire fence on a privately owned farm. I was like, kudos to that guy.
Yeah.
Cheers to you on the next bush light you drink, right?
Yeah,
So.
exactly. The guys that make those comments, we've been talking about a lot lately. We've gotten more of that lately too. Just, I guess, I don't know, just because we're in more places now. But yeah, when Austin shot that buck, it was like, the must be nice guys shoots. He's hunting in a zoo. It's like, okay, whatever, guys. Must be.
Somebody commented, how much did that deer cost? I'm like, honestly, you don't want to know. It did cost me quite a bit, but I didn't pay anybody specifically for it. So
yeah, big deer cost a lot of money, especially probably more money with the ones without a near tag, because all the effort, and I mean, it takes effort.
Right.
You know, from the food plots to the whatever.
It's a sickness. Anybody that shoots big deer, it's a sickness. I mean, this deer is actually, I've gotten so many comments about, so you done hunting now? I'm like, no, this has fueled me probably more than ever. I've always done late December, early January, like spotting, scope scouting, as far as whether I have a tag to fill still or just trying to get inventory for next year. Mm-hmm. I've done more of that this year than I ever have. I've probably shot my bow 13, 14 times since I shot him out in the cold wind in January in Missouri. Yeah. Like I grabbed one of those tethered systems the other day because I'm really interested in trying to get into that saddle deal. So like, it's just, I've done more prep for next year already than I do most years after shooting him. There's just something that's always been different about those big deer. They just don't act like other deer. And it's something that's so much fun to do.
Yeah. So I can see that, man. I think I would be the same way. You shoot something crazy like that, because the likelihood of you shooting another one like that are pretty slim, but it doesn't mean that you can't target mature bucks, whether they're 140 or whatever they end up being.
Absolutely. We're fortunate in an area that I'm fortunate to farm. So I have quite a big ground that I have private access to, that Dad and I bow hunt. My oldest brother rifle hunts a little bit, but he still plays the wind right, just through having to listen to Dad and I preach to him all the time,
Yeah.
But it's just a lot of fun to just do all the stuff and do all the work to try and get those big deer in there. But my biggest one prior to him was a 191. I got him with a bow on December 21st, 8 years ago. Last year I shot a 169 on January 2nd or 3rd, something like that. So late season is my go-to.
Sounds like it, man.
Love late season.
Well, we'll have to get you in and do a regular WCB podcast in the studio here when you're on a cattle tour. Yeah, and we'll talk late season stuff. But I appreciate you jumping on pretty short notice. And it was cool meeting you and getting to hold the actual buck and all that. So
yeah. Yep. Hey, I appreciate your time, man. We love the podcast.
Thanks.
Like so, it gives us guys that are just have a sickness over it something to listen to, and it's a little more bro talk. It's a little more relaxed, and that's what I love about it. I will say to the listeners, if you come to the booth with a giant buck, you still don't get a free T-shirt. I just want all the listeners know that.
Calling me out.
I think he gave me like a 2-cent sticker. He's like, "Hey, would you like this?" Like, "Oh, thanks."
Here, put this on your truck. That's what happens when you go to do this for a living. You got to squeeze every cent you can out of it so you can buy lunch when you get back to work.
No, I for sure bought a couple T-shirts in support. I did not want them free. I just, like I said, Missouri people are going to give you a hard time. We're not going to compliment you much. So,
hey,
that was my way.
We'll take it. We're used to getting crap on job sites. We know
I don't doubt that.
All good
Salt
here.
People right there, man.
Yeah, that's right, man. That's right. Well, hey, man, thank you so much. If you want to plug your Instagram or anything before you leave, feel free.
Yeah, I had to write it down because I couldn't remember what it was. GWood _46. And then anybody interested in a bull in February, visit our website, www.ccacattle.com, man.
Love it. Love it. Support the working man right there. That's pretty awesome.
That's right.
All right, buddy. We'll get that to you next year. Hey, if you kill a 200 plus next year, I'll send you a free T-shirt.
Awesome. Deal.
All right, buddy. All right, man. Appreciate you. Later, man.